Welcome to the Steel City. Is everybody ready to go? Let's proclaim the greatest radio show.
Welcome everyone to our Week 7 Steelers preview. I'm your host Jim Sella, flying solo here again. Johnny Parlay, he had a little too much of that Martavis Bryant news. Thought that he could request a trade, so now he's on the bench for a couple weeks. Personal conduct policy, no good. Parlay, you're out of here. Suspended for a week. Everybody's just got to deal with me now. Pittsburgh Steelers, big win over Kansas City last week, 19-13. Game culminated by that big catch by AB, the tip pass, batted pass, whatever, redirected, however you want to call it. Everybody's debating it. Great play by Antonio Brown. Almost a horrible pass by Ben Roethlisberger. I know he's just trying to make a play happen right there at that moment. But the Steelers really did a good job of stopping what had been going on as far as the defensive woes. They held Kansas City to 28 rushing yards on 15 attempts. Really good, obviously, considering the Steelers have given up almost 200 yards in two different games against the Bears and the Jaguars this year. Held Alex Smith to only about 223 yards passing. Smith's been playing well this year, was definitely one of the candidates for MVP, although it's still certainly early in the season to say that. This Pittsburgh pass defense could be legit. Some people were all excited, a lot of people I should say were excited whenever the Steelers came into this game ranked number 1 against the pass. I cautioned everybody, you really got to look at it statistically, considering the Bears and the Jaguars both threw for less than 100 yards in those games. Both games the Steelers lost. So when you're saying they're only giving up, I think it was somewhere around 169 yards per game, you got to hold that into an account. Now, the Kansas City passing game, obviously much better than anybody they faced so far, and the Steelers were able to hold them in check. So this could be one of those Steelers defenses that really just wreaks havoc on the other team's offense. I mean, they're not getting the sacks that they were early on in the season, although they're still getting consistent pressure on the quarterback. But this defense, man, they really stepped up. I think it was a smart move to play James Harrison in that football game. No, I'm not one of those yinzers that thinks Harrison is going to come out and save the team. He's not going to get 5 sacks a game. He's not going to lead the league in sacks. But what he does do is get to the quarterback when it's necessary, as he showed on the last play of the game when he sacked Alex Smith. And he also sets the edge in the run game, something that I think T.J. Watt is struggling with a little bit, Bud Dupree's struggling a little bit, and Anthony Chickillo's struggling a lot. I know Chickillo's got a quick first step at the quarterback, but, man, against the run, this guy's really, really struggling. Artie Burns on the outside struggling a little bit against the run. All these things were contributing to the Steelers getting gashed in those games against Chicago and against Jacksonville. They were able to shut that down in this game against Kansas City. Get that ship right. Artie still struggled a little bit in the running game, but he's going to get better. He's a young guy, so you got to think that his tackling's going to improve. Just got to get a little more aggressive. But overall, coming into this game against Cincinnati, I like where the Pittsburgh Steelers are. They're 4-2. At this point, I kind of felt like they'd be somewhere around 5-1, so 4-2 is really not that far off. Now you can sit here and say, well, they lost to the Bears and the Jaguars. Okay, yeah, the Bears are terrible, but really the Jaguars aren't that bad of a football team. They shouldn't have been able to beat Pittsburgh at home the way they did, but they did, and it happens. I believe the Steelers either have a share or may even be in full sole possession of the first seed as of right now, as far as the playoffs go in the AFC, but way too early to worry about any of that at only 6 weeks into the season. The Steelers have the 22nd ranked offense as far as points per game at only 19.7 points coming into this week against Cincinnati. That's not going to get it done throughout the whole year. Yeah, this defense is only giving up 17 points a game, and that's 4th overall in the NFL. But this offense for the Steelers, they started to click a little bit, I felt like, last week, especially Le'Veon Bell. He had something over almost 170 yards rushing. He's really hit full stride right now. I read a stat the other day. I got to pull it up here. Since Le'Veon Bell has joined the Pittsburgh Steelers, the Steelers are 17-0 when he carries the ball, 23 plus times in a game. They're 19-20 when he doesn't, and that includes the postseason. 17-0 when he has 23 or more carries, 19-20 when he doesn't. What's that tell you? That this offense is centered around Le'Veon Bell. I don't care. We got Ben Roethlisberger. He's great. We got Antonio Brown. He's great. We got Martavis Bryant and Juju and Eli. These guys are all supposed to be really good offensive players. But without Le'Veon Bell in the mix, they're just nobody's as good. Because when a team doesn't have to worry about a run game, they can tee off on the quarterback. They can drop a bunch of guys in coverage. They can pretty much do whatever they want, dare you to throw the football, and then you end up making mistakes and losing games, just like the Steelers lost in Jacksonville with the 5 interceptions. So coming into this week against Cincinnati, I don't know if I'm concerned. I don't want to use the word concerned. I don't think that's right. Like I said, I feel like the Steelers offense is getting on track a little better. They were a little better against Kansas City. Ben Roethlisberger certainly seems to be feeling it, I guess, a little bit more. This guy didn't throw an interception through all of training camp. Everybody was boasting about how good of a year he was going to have, and he's struggling right now. Not playing to his standard. I think this is a game where he can really get back at it. They have Vontaze Burfict out there for Cincinnati. He's going to be trying to take people's heads off. But Pac-Man Jones is out of the game. Cincinnati's pass defense, I mean, it's good. It's ranked second in the league, but it's a defense that can be beat, especially if you run the football as well as the Steelers do. The Bengals have the 14th ranked defense against the run. The Steelers can really take advantage of that. Feed the ball to Le'Veon Bell. This guy should have 30 carries in this football game. And I know a lot of people were saying you gotta save him for the playoffs, save him for late in the season. Okay, well then give him 25 carries and James Conner some carries here too. But I want to see the Steelers run the football for over 150 yards in this game. That's the key to success for Pittsburgh. If you get that run game going, that opens up play action passing. I keep saying it over and over and over again. If Roethlisberger has less heat on him, he's going to be a better quarterback. Let's face it, this guy's legs have taken a beating over the years. Multiple knee injuries, toe injuries, ankle injuries. I mean, if he doesn't have a nice clean pocket to step up in, it's going to be harder for him to throw the football. His legs aren't in it the same way they were when he's young. And that doesn't even mean running. That has nothing to do with running. Yeah, he is a little less mobile. I'm talking about being able to throw off your back foot sometimes. Being able to throw off balance whenever you have a guy coming right in your face. These are things that are a lot harder for Big Ben right now. Offensive lines stepped it up recently, and they're protecting him a little bit better. But Ramon Foster's injured right now. Marcus Gilbert's injured right now. Marquise Pouncey missed some time in practice this week. So that definitely could end up hurting Pittsburgh, especially in the long run if they can't get everybody healthy. Big Ben's been pretty successful against Cincinnati. I know Ben has the most wins as a starting quarterback in Cleveland since the Browns came back to the NFL in '99. Ben might have almost as many wins, if not more, in Cincinnati. I know this game's at Pittsburgh, but when we play the Bengals, man, he just seems to own these guys. Even when Carson Palmer was out there, there was 1 or 2 times where I think Palmer got his number. A couple times you've seen Ben play bad, throw 3 or 4 picks against Cincinnati. It happens. But this Cincinnati's team's offense is pathetic. 30th in points per game, 24th in yards, 18 in passing yards, 29th in rushing yards. If they're having a lot of 3 and outs and the Steelers are running the football, it's going to be hard for this Cincinnati defense to be able to keep up with the Steelers. They're going to get worn out. They're going to get tired by the end of the game. And then that means Le'Veon and company are going to be able to continue to run the ball with success. If the Bengals have any chance, shouldn't say any chance, if the Bengals want to have a chance to beat the Steelers, they definitely got to shut down that run game. And it's going to be hard considering they're giving up 103 rushing yards per game. And I know the Steelers are only averaging 107 right now, but that's just because some of the earlier games this season they didn't get a lot, so that average is a little skewed. Bell's on a roll right now, and the Steelers need to keep rolling with it. As I look here at the injury report right now, Gilbert is doubtful. Tuitt is out, actually. Medikevich missed some time with a shoulder. Vince Williams missed time with a hip. Foster and Pouncey, as I mentioned. The Bengals, Pac-Man Jones. This says doubtful, but I've seen him ruled as out. Tyler Boyd is out. John Ross is questionable. Both teams a little banged up, at least as far as some of their key players. Now, this could end up being a trap game for Pittsburgh. A lot of people were yelling trap game, coming off a big win against Kansas City. I don't really see it that way. This is a division game. The Steelers know what they're getting in Cincinnati. They know what they're getting out of Andy Dalton. They know that Vontaze Burfict's going to come out and pretty much try to injure somebody on every single play because he's the biggest piece of crap in football right now. People were mad about people kneeling and all this other. How about Vontaze Burfict just straight head hunting every single time he's out on the field? Yeah, he's a tough player. Yeah, it's football. Believe me, I get it. I wish old school football was back. This guy blatantly goes after people's knees and after people's heads, and it honestly wouldn't shock me if he just started trying to injure either Bell, Brown, Ben, any one of our offensive players. He's going to go after at least one of them at one point in this football game, and I hope the Steelers don't react poorly to that situation and get themselves involved in pushing and shoving and penalties or possibly ejections, because Burfict likes to do those things. He wants to get under your skin. He wants you to make you focus on him and what he's going to do, and then you have less focus on what you need to do as a football team. And it works to his advantage sometimes, but sometimes he goes a little bit too far. Again, the Steelers can take this guy out of the football game simply by running the football well. I say run the ball right at him. Make him make decisions. Make him make plays. Frustrate him. Get him going the wrong way. If he makes a couple bad plays, he's really going to get frustrated. He's an emotional football player, and now I know that kind of leads you to him maybe wanting to hurt somebody even more, but he's going to hurt somebody if he's going to hurt somebody. There's nothing you can do about it. But Burfict plays so emotional. A lot of those Cincinnati defensive players get really emotional during the game. You start running on them early, you start moving the chains, over and over and over again, they're going to get frustrated. The Bengals, they're not a good football team. I mean, people talked about them bouncing back this year from their poor season last year. I thought they were going to have a bad year last year. I thought they were going to have a bad year this year. They're sitting at 2-3. I don't even think these guys scored a touchdown in their first two football games. Baltimore's bad in this division. This is not the Cincinnati team of a few years ago. Andy Dalton just doesn't scare me at all. At all. Quite honestly, if the Bengals fall to 6, 7, maybe even 8 losses before the middle of the year or shortly after the middle of the year, look for McCarron to come out, because I honestly feel like Andy Dalton could be on his way out of Cincinnati. Dude's a fire crotch, and he's beat. So what do we hope for as Pittsburgh fans? We hope for a defense to come out fast. We hope for a defense to get a couple turnovers. We hope for an offense to finally click. I mean, this is the game that you think they're really going to do it, right? You're at home. You're against a division rival who you've owned recently, a quarterback who you've owned recently. Ben Roethlisberger's played so much better at home than he's played on the road in his career. I just really, really feel like if there's going to be a breakout game for Pittsburgh, this has got to be the week that it happens. It may never happen. I'm not guaranteeing that it's going to happen. I'm not saying it's going to happen at all this entire season. But if it is, it's got to be in this football game. Yeah, you're 4-2. Yeah, you're probably going to win this division because the other teams are pretty much garbage. But you want to get clicking at a certain point. We're in week 7 now. I mean, there's only 17 weeks in the regular season, so we're creeping up on the middle of the year pretty quick here. And this Pittsburgh Steelers offense just doesn't look like what it should. I feel like if they come out and run some play action, move away from these goofy screen plays that they try to run early in the game, and please, 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 get back to the no huddle. Come on. What are you doing, Haley? I don't even care if you give them scripted plays to run in the no huddle. I just don't understand it. Every year you see Ben come out and he gets to run it just a little bit here and there, here and there. The offense moves right down the field, scores touchdowns. We don't stall out in the red zone as much. Whenever we get in the red zone running a traditional offense, Haley gets too cute, tries to run these weird plays, nothing works out, we end up kicking field goals. I'm not saying go Peyton Manning style and run the no huddle the entire game, but where is it? It's been basically non-existent this year. I can't remember, maybe I could probably count the times on one hand, that the Steelers have gone into a no-huddle offense so far through 6 weeks of this football season. Let Big Ben be Big Ben. Let him throw the ball. People are saying he's forcing it into Brown. He is kind of forcing it into Brown, but he doesn't look like he's in rhythm out there either, and that'll really help him get into rhythm. Let him call some plays. Let him get the receivers doing what he sees them doing out there. I just don't understand why the Steelers take a guy who has the skill of Roethlisberger. He's a cerebral player, honestly, now, and they almost handcuff him and don't really allow him to do it. So, Steelers fans, you want them to play that great defense, but you also want them to come out and get going quickly on offense. I really, really just want to see Pittsburgh come out and score 30 points. Not only do I have 3 of their players on my fantasy team, I'm just getting sick and tired of biting my nails all the way to the end of the game because I don't really have any nails left to bite. It's killing me here. We found ways to win. Great teams find ways to win no matter what, so I like that. But honestly, when you're 13th, 11th, and 16th in yards, passing yards, and rushing yards offensively, but still only 22nd in scoring, something needs to happen, man. You got to put more points on the board. You got to get going in the red zone. And the easiest way to do that is just get the offense moving a little quicker so that they're not stopping and standing around looking at each other and all being too smart for their own good. So normally right now I'd have somebody with me, ask some over-under questions. Flying solo today, so I guess I'll just ask myself the questions. As far as rushing yards for Le'Veon Bell, last week, like I said, a little over 170 yards, somewhere around there. I think I gave Parlay an over-under of a little bit under 100. This week, honestly, I think Le'Veon gets it going, so I'm going to say over 100 yards again for Le'Veon Bell this week. Mike Tomlin may just start feeding this guy the rock like they did at the end of the year last year, and I understand that Bell got hurt in that playoff game, but quite honestly, like I said, 17-0 when he touches the ball 23 times or more in a game. The stats don't lie. The Steelers need to rely on this guy. Over-under passing yards for Big Ben Roethlisberger. I would have said it somewhere around 225 because he's been somewhere around there in most of the games so far this year. I don't know. I don't know if he's going to go over that. I want to say he can go over that or will go over that. We all know that he can. But I'm going to say over slightly. It's somewhere probably around 240, 250 yards. I don't think he has a huge game. He might get a couple touchdowns, but I don't see Ben throwing for big yards, especially if Le'Veon's toting the rock as many times as I hope. Over under sacks for the Steelers. I think their defense can get back on track as far as sacking the quarterback this week. Neither Andy Dalton nor A.J. McCarron scare me as far as trying to move around behind the line of scrimmage or in the pocket. Not saying they're statues back there, but neither one of them are too fleet of foot. I think the Steelers defense can really get after Dalton. The running back combo of Mixon and Bernard and Hill, everybody was real big on all 3 of these guys. Maybe not Hill because he was a little injured coming into the season. Especially fantasy owners with Mixon. Oh, he's going to be the best. Everybody better take him. Top 3 rounds. The guy's pretty much done nothing right now. Dash and I have been saying it all year long. It's a crowded backfield as far as fantasy, so you don't really want to own any of those guys. And they're only rushing for 84 yards a game, so they're really not that scary running the football. So if the Steelers can shut that down early, if they can put points on the board early and get up before halftime, you're going to force that Cincinnati Bengals offense, into throwing the football. They're going to become predictable, and that's how the Steelers can rack up some sacks. So I'm going to go actually over 3. I think the Steelers can get 4 or 4.5 sacks here in this game. I hate the half sack, but sometimes you got to take it into account. For the Cincinnati offense, rushing the football, I probably would have given John somewhere over under 75 yards. I bet you Parlay would have went over. He likes to stick it to the Steelers whenever he can. But I think the Steelers can hold Cincinnati to under 75. I think you're going to play James Harrison a little more as the season goes on than they thought they were. He's going to help teach these young guys how to set the edge and really play in the run game. And I think Sean Davis is starting to come into his own a little bit. I don't want to say he struggled early in the year, but he definitely didn't stand out when some people were saying he was going to be a breakout player this year. So I think he's playing a little better. Mike Mitchell's getting a little healthier, although all he tries to do is take people's heads off and dive at people's knees. Turnovers for both teams. I think the Steelers can win the turnover battle in this game. I think Ben still throws one interception. He likes to try to get too cute, or a pass might just get tipped, something like that. Steelers doing a good job not fumbling the football this year. Cincinnati, I honestly couldn't tell you how well they're doing in the turnover battle, but Andy Dalton's garbage, so you got to think he's going to throw at least one interception. I'm waiting for Joe Hayden to bust out and have a big game. He's played solid so far this year, but he hasn't had one of those big games that this guy can have. He can take a pick to the house if he gets it too. Guy's got moves for a defensive player. I think Dalton throws at least one, maybe two interceptions, and I honestly think that James Harrison has a chance at getting a sack fumble out of Dalton or McCarron if he ends up playing in this football game, because Harrison always plays well against the division teams. And like I said, Dalton's pretty much not your mobile quarterback. So you play James Harrison a little bit, he gets around that edge, gets that sack fumble, reaching out that giant arm of his. It's been a staple play of that guy's career. I think the Steelers win the turnover battle, but I think both teams commit at least one turnover. And now it's time. The moment everybody's been waiting for. It's the only reason anybody even listens to these segments. No, we're not going to play ABBA. I'm going to give you the keys to victory and my official prediction for the week. If you've been listening to the episode, I've been saying it all day. Pittsburgh needs to run the ball. They need to run the ball well. This limits mistakes. It limits the exposure that they have for turnovers. It limits the chance Roethlisberger's going to get hurt back there. We're not going to win anything with either one of our backup quarterbacks. I know Ben's not playing in elite status right now, but he's still 10 times better than either of the guys he got behind him. And I really just think that the defense is thriving when the Steelers control the football because they're not out on the field very long. They're not a big defense. They're a fast defense. So if teams like Chicago and Jacksonville can start running the football, I think the Jaguars ran it 18 straight times at one point, and they just kept converting third downs into first downs. That wears out the Steelers' defense, and then they're going to give up that big play. Big, strong, heavy offenses can wear them out if the Steelers allow them to. So if the Steelers control the ball and keep that defense off the field for long periods of time, they can definitely minimize any risk that way. So the key to victory, run the football, don't commit too many turnovers, and just keep playing defense the way you are, because let's face it, nothing really going on as far as Cincinnati scares me. I haven't even mentioned A.J. Green's name through this whole episode. Yeah, he's a weapon. He's a guy who's had some big games against Pittsburgh. But he's also a guy who's completely vanished against Pittsburgh sometimes, and right now he's probably their best offensive player, but the offense just isn't really doing anything. So I'm not going to say I'm not concerned about him. If you forget about him, he's going to go downfield and score on you. But honestly, I think Artie Burns or Joe Hayden, either one of those guys, can cover A.J. Green. He may get his catches, 5, 6, 7 catches for somewhere around 100 yards. But I don't think he's going to be a difference maker in the football game as far as the actual outcome. So my official prediction for the game, I had to think about this. I want a Yins. I want to say the Steelers are going to win 30-10, but I just don't think it's going to happen. I think the offense is going to break out, have their best game as far as efficiency. I think Roethlisberger will throw the ball better and get a couple touchdowns through the air. I don't think they get to 30, though, but I think the Steelers can get to somewhere around 27 points offensively. Maybe Le'Veon gets 1 or 2 on the ground, but I don't know if he's going to get into the end zone on the ground this week. I feel like he's going to be one of those guys who gets the ball between the 20s and constantly gets all the yardage, but I feel like Big Ben's going to get the touchdowns. So I'm going to go Pittsburgh 27, Cincinnati 20. So the Steelers are still going to cover that 5 or 5.5 line. I've seen it, both numbers in many different places. I don't think it's going to be a total blowout. Cincinnati may even have a chance to win the game at the end, kind of like Oakland did last night against Kansas City. No, it won't be that dramatic because Andy Dalton's garbage, but he might get a shot. I don't think it's going to be successful. I don't see Cincinnati doing too much this year. If they win more than 7 games, I honestly would be shocked. This is a game the Steelers should win. This could be a trap game for Pittsburgh. I just don't think it's going to happen. They're at home. They're against a division rival. They just usually don't drop these football games. So I'm going to go Pittsburgh Steelers 27, Cincinnati Bengals 20. The Steelers move on to 5-2, keep marching towards that number 1 seed in the AFC. I don't want to say they're going to have a stranglehold on the division, but they've already beat the Browns once. They already beat the Ravens once. If they can beat Cincinnati here this week, they honestly have a pretty good shot at going at least 4-2, maybe even 6-0 in the division. If the Steelers go 6-0 in the division, that's all she wrote. They're definitely making the playoffs because Baltimore, Cincinnati, and Cleveland will barely win more than 8 total games between all 3 of them. I'm taking back my Cleveland prediction of them going 8-8 or whatever I said they were going to do. They're beat. Fans, questions, comments, hit us up on Twitter at bet_the_spread. Hit me up on Twitter at betjimthewin. Check out the Facebook page at facebook.com/betthespread. Keep telling all your friends. Keep watching Steeler football. Man, I'm paying $70 a month just to be able to watch it. Every penny's worth it.